Hey guys, welcome to my channel today. Thank you so much for stopping by. In this video, I'll be teaching you how to cut and sew a bustier blouse with yoke. I'll start by cutting the front. My fabric is already folded into two. So what I'll do now is to start taking my points. The first point is the distance from my shoulder to my nipple point, which is 10 inches. The next point is the distance from my shoulder to my under bust point, which is 13 inches. The last point is the distance from my shoulder to my half length, that is my waistline. It is 16 inches, but I went ahead to add extra 1 inch to it for joining allowance. So after doing that, I'll rule straight lines across all the points and I'll label my lines. The first line is the bust line, the second line is the UBL under bust line, the third line is the waistline. After doing that, I'll take half of my shoulder measurements, which is 8 inches. So I'm going to take the 8 inches from the center front and I'll indicate the 8 inches with a dot. On that dot, I'll go down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. I'll indicate the 1 inch with a dot and then I'll place my roller on the 1 inch and slant it into the neckline area like this. After doing that, I'll go down by my armhole depth. My armhole depth is 8 inches. So from the shoulder slope, I'm going down by 8 inches. I'll also indicate the 8 inches with a dot. So the same measurement I have on the shoulder line, I'll make sure I have the same measurement on that armhole depth, okay, which is 8 inches. So if it's not the same measurement, go ahead and adjust it. After doing that, I'll connect the dots on the shoulder slope to the dots that I came down with. Then I'm going to rule a straight line across that point. So this line now is going to serve as my chest line. So I'll label the line. So the next thing I'll do now is to take half of my nipple to nipple measurement. Half of my nipple to nipple measurement is 4 inches. So since I'm cutting on directly on my fabric, I'll be adding half an inch to the 4 inches, okay. So instead of placing 4 inches, I'll place 4.5 inches on the bust line, on the under bust line, and on the waistline. So the half an inch is going to serve as my joining allowance. I'll connect the 3 dots into a straight line. On the under bust line, I'll go in by 1 inch. And then on the other side, I'll go in by 1 inch. So if you are busty, you can do 1 inch for the center front and 1.5 inches or 2 inches for the side front. But for me, I'm taking 1 inch on both sides of the straight line. So I'll connect straight down like this. After doing that, I'll place my tape on the bust line and I'll go down by half an inch. I'll indicate the half an inch with a dot. Then I'll use the curved part of my ruler to connect from the half an inch all the way to the under bust line, as you can see. After doing that, I'll also place the ruler on the other side and I'll connect like this. So the next thing I'll do now is to determine where I want my yoke to start from. Okay, so for me, I'm going down by 7 inches from the upper part of the fabric. Okay, so that is how deep I want the yoke to be. If you want yours deeper, you can go down more. If you want it higher, you can go upward, okay. So after marking the 7 inches, I'll go ahead and rule a straight line across, okay. So after doing that, I'm going to divide the straight line that I have on the armhole area. I'm supposed to do that earlier. So I'll place my tape on the straight line, and what I have there is 8 inches. I'll divide the 8 inches into 2 by folding my tape like this, and I'll indicate the center. After doing that, I'll place my bust circumference divided by 4 on the chest line. I'll indicate the measurement with a dot. On that middle point on the straight line, I'll go in by half an inch, and then I'm going to connect from the middle point to the point that I have on the chest line, and from there upward. So I'm going to go down by 1 inch from my new chest line now, which is where my yoke is going to start from. That 1 inch is going to be for the sweetheart neckline, and then I'm going to mark my nipple to nipple measurement plus half an inch, that is 4.5 inches on this new line, and then I'll extend the dart leg upward. After doing that, I'm going to tighten the over bust. To do that, I'll be taking half inch on both sides of the straight line, half inch to the left and half inch to the right. If you are busty, you can do 0.75 inches to the left and 0.75 inches to the right. Okay, so I came up from the bust point by half an inch. So what I'll do now is to place my ruler on that half an inch and I'll connect upward like this. So after doing that, I'll use my free hand to connect from the 1 inch that I came down with. I'll connect all the way like this to get this sweetheart neckline on the center front, and from the other dart leg I'll connect into the armhole area like this. So after doing that, I'm going to take my neck width. For the neck width, I want it to be 3.5 inches. For the depth, I'll be doing 3 inches. So it's a high neckline. If you want yours to be lower, you can go down by 3.5 inches or 4 inches. Okay, so I'll connect from the neck width to meet the neck depth like this. After doing that, I'll start placing my measurements. I already have my bust circumference divided by 4 on the chest line, which I indicated on the chest line. So what I did was to replace the 1 inch dart, and then I added 1.5 inches for my stitching allowance. On the under bust line, I'll place my under bust circumference divided by 4. I'll replace my dart of 2 inches, and then I'll add 1.5 inches for my stitching allowance. On the waistline, I'll place my waist circumference divided by 4. I'll replace my dart of 2 inches, and then I'll add 1.5 inches for my stitching allowance. After doing that, I'll place my ruler from the chest line and I'll connect all the way to the waistline like this. After connecting, this is what I have, so I'll go ahead and cut. Please pay close attention so you know where to cut. So guys, after cutting, this is what I have. So what I'll do is to replace the yoke with my chantilly net. I'll be using a net for the yoke area. Okay, so we have the center front and the side front. You're going to cut out your lining piece for them. So for the yoke, I went ahead to fold my net into 2, center front on fold. So I'll cut out the same thing that I have on the fabric, but I'll be adding about half an inch allowance on all sides, as you can see me doing. Okay, after cutting, this is what I have. So for the back, I've gone ahead to fold my fabric into 2. The first thing I'll do is to take out my zipper allowance of 1.5 inches. So I'll mark 1.5 inches all the way to the end of the fabric, and I'll connect all the dots into a straight line. After doing that, I'll start marking my points. The first point is the distance from my shoulder to my nipple point, which is 10 inches. The next point is the distance from my shoulder to my waist point plus allowance, which is 17 inches. So what I'll do is to rule straight lines across all these points. So we do not need the under bust line for the back, it's just a regular back pattern. I'll label my lines, the bust line and the waistline. The next thing I did was to take half of my shoulder measurements. I'm doing this after the zipper allowance. Okay, the zipper allowance is not included. I indicated that with a dot. On that dot, I went down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and I'll stand from there into the neckline area like this. After doing that, I'll go down by my armhole depth, which is 8 inches. A way to get your armhole depth is to divide your bust circumference by 6, and then you add 1 inch to that measurement. Okay, so what I did was to connect, and then I ruled a straight line across. This time I connected the line all the way to the zipper allowance area. I'll label the line as my chest line. After doing that, I placed my tape on the straight line and I divided what I have there into 2. What I have is 8 inches. Half of 8 inches is 4 inches, so I indicated the 4 inches. On the chest line, I placed my bust circumference divided by 4. So what I'll do is to connect from the 4 inches mark, that's the center of the straight line, to the dot that I have on the chest line like this. The next thing I'll do is to take half of my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inches. So this time I'm not adding half an inch to it. Okay, so I'll mark the 4 inches all the way, and it's going to get to the chest line. Okay, then I'll connect the 3 dots into a straight line. After doing that, I'll take half an inch on both sides of the straight line. So if you're busty, you can do 0.75 inches on both sides. So what I'll do is to connect all the way up. Okay, I'll connect like this. So I already have my bust circumference divided by 4 on the chest line. What I'll do is to place my stitching allowance of 1.5 inches. So the dart did not get to the chest line, so there is no need to replace any measurement there. On the waistline, I placed my waist circumference divided by 4. I replaced the dart of 1 inch and I added 1.5 inches for my stitching allowance. So what I'll do is to connect from the chest line all the way to the waistline like this. After doing that, I'll adjust the zipper area. So I have 1.5 inches as my zipper allowance. I'll take out half an inch from the 1.5 inches only on the waistline. Okay, I'll slant my roller like this and I'll connect upward as you can see me doing. Okay, this is to eliminate zipper bulge. For the neckline, the neck width of 3.5 inches remains the same, and for the neck depth I'll be using 1.5 inches. So I'll connect from the neck depth to the neck width like this. Okay, so that is all for the back pattern. I'll go ahead and cut. So on the shoulder area, you can see that I didn't cut exactly where I marked. I left about half an inch for my joining allowance because I'm cutting directly on my fabric. So go ahead and fold your lining and use your main fabric to cut out your lining. So now I'll be cutting out the wording that I'll use to pad the front, and this is a really soft wording. If you have the strong wording, you can make use of that. So what I'll do now is to fold my wording into two, and then I'm going to place the center front. You can see that my center front is on fold. Okay, so you place them like this and you make sure it stops on the under bust line. Okay, do not extend the pad all the way. So from the under bust, I'll follow the shape that I have on the side and on the upper part. Okay, so you can notch the under bust area. I'll fold my fabric into two and notch it, so when I'm placing the pad I know exactly where it's supposed to stop. So I'll place the shiny part of the pad on the wrong side of my fabric. And I'll trim half an inch away from the neckline area so it's easy for me to turn my lining and the fabric. Okay, so for the other side of the pad, I'm going to fold my pad into two. I'll make sure it stops at the under bust line and I'll give it a little notch like this. Okay, so after doing that, I'll follow the shape that I have on the side as you can see, and then I'll cut out. Okay, so after cutting, I'll arrange the side like this and I'm going to place the shiny part of the pad on the wrong side of my fabric. Okay, so I'll go ahead and pin. After pinning, I'll still trim off a little bit. Okay, I'll trim from the side as you can see me doing. Okay, so make sure your pad does not extend to the armhole area. So after cutting out the pad, I went ahead to iron everything flat, and this is what it looks like on the inside. So what I'll do now is to join the fabric together, right side facing right side. I'll arrange them in place just like you can see me doing. I'll pin from the base and I'll head over to my sewing machine to sew. So our stitching allowance is half an inch, so I'll sew half an inch all the way through to the up. After doing that, I'm going to open the joining allowance and I'll iron everything in place. I've also gone ahead to use the fabric to cut out the lining piece, and this is what I have. For the lining, I ironed paper stay to it to strengthen it. Okay, so I'll place them right side facing right side just like I did for the main fabric, and then I'll head over to my sewing machine to sew using the half an inch allowance that we left earlier. So after sewing the main fabric, this is what I have. So I went ahead to open up the seam and I ironed in place. So this is what it looks like. I've also sewn the lining in place and you can see how the lining piece is standing. Okay, so what I'll do now is to bring in the yoke. First of all, go ahead and turn the neckline of your yoke using a clothing bias. I already did that. So what I'll do now is to pin the yoke to the main fabric, right side facing right side. So I'll arrange the yoke in place and I'll keep pinning till I get to the end on this side. After pinning this side, I'll also pin the other side in place. Okay, after pinning, you are going to place the right side of your lining piece on the right side of the main fabric and you are also going to pin. Okay, after doing that, you go ahead and sew using half an inch. You sew from one end to the other end and then you sew the side. After sewing, this is what it looks like on the outside and on the inside. So you're going to take the dart for your back, turn it with your lining take the back, and then you're going to arrange everything in place. So yeah guys, that brings us to the end of this tutorial. I hope it was helpful. Don't forget to like this video, leave your questions in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.